Hi, this is Jordan Ramirez, and normally I host my podcast show, Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez. Now I am hosting a special show for my podcast, Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez, Minisode, Jordan Ramirez Recommends. The Minisodes are now airing every Monday at 12 p.m. as part of the Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez podcast. So, without further ado, you are listening to a Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez Minisode. For my 7th episode, I am going to recommend the film Buried, released in 2010, directed by Rodrigo Cortés, starring Ryan Reynolds. Paul Conroy, played by Ryan Reynolds, is a truck driver who is hired by a contract company to deliver food and aid to the soldiers fighting in the Iraq War. While he was in a convoy with the other truck drivers, he and the other drivers were ambushed by the Iraqis. When Paul wakes up, he is trapped inside a wooden coffin buried underneath the desert. And inside that coffin are a Zippo lighter, a cell phone, a flask containing water, a flashlight, a bottle of pills, a note, etc. While he is inside the coffin, his only communication to the outside world is through the cell phone. He tries to contact anyone from the United States to help him get out of the coffin, and one of the persons whom he is in contact with is his captor, who put him in the coffin, demanding ransom money, or else he will stay in the coffin and die without any help. So now it is a race against time to survive in the coffin, or else he will die. The moment that you watch this film from beginning to end in chronological order, you will start to feel the intensity and thrills of being isolated in a wooden coffin in one singular location. Reynolds' performance as a truck driver who is trapped and the real anxiety of fear that he shows on his face is real and is not meant to be like chewing the scenery type acting. I also found the intricate camera angles and placements inside the wooden coffin to capture the surrounding environment and the emotions on Ryan Reynolds' face to be interestingly creative and very much one of the best resources of how filmmakers could make movies like that work. I admire Cortés's ability to capture the fear and high-raising tension in the plot that takes place at a singular location. Even though the film was made entirely in Spain inside a studio in Barcelona, the majority of the film is supposed to take place in the middle of the desert in Iraq, even though we don't know what the outside world looks like in the majority of the film, since the whole film takes place in a claustrophobic and enclosed environment. When Rodrigo Cortés was asked about the inspiration for the making of the film Buried, he said, quote, that his compass point for the film was pure Hitchcock. The real-time suspense of Rope from 1948, the confined quarters of Lifeboat from 1944, and the paralyzed point of view in Rear Window from 1954, end quote. Cortés also acknowledged that while the movie is very topical in its own period, his goal was to dig deep into Hitchcock's old turf, a place of tension and intense craft challenges. Cortés said in an interview for the Los Angeles Times, quote, I always saw the film as something very big, something Hitchcockian. When they asked me if it would be strained by the setting limitations, I said, no, it will be Indiana Jones in a box. While Reynolds didn't agree with the Indiana Jones reference, he did agree with the director about the restrictions that gave the film creative freedom. Reynolds, there's a freedom in the restriction. It becomes a big movie because of those restrictions. You see the size of the story because of that limited space. The limited space magnifies everything. People say, weren't you worried to do a film this risky? And I say, no, why would I be worried? If it didn't work, we all get a big pat on the back for trying something different. The main thing was surviving the shoot. The film was shot in 16 days or 17 days, in a studio in Barcelona, Spain, and shot in 7 separate coffins for different camera angles and distance for the purpose of the film. When Reynolds was in the wooden box during the production of the film, he was suffering from claustrophobia and his back was already becoming strained after being isolated in one singular location. As the director explained in an interview, Reynolds committed to living in the situation rather than acting it out, which is why the atmosphere and the tension in the film is real rather than made up. All I can say is that if you are into films that take place in one singular location with the intense atmosphere and thrills, then this film is for you, since this film was on the top 10 favorites list of John Waters in 2010, and has been a favorite of, and I wish I made this up, Julie Andrews. But it is still a great Hitchcockian thriller that feels both innovative and creative under the restrictions that makes this film spectacular. I hope you enjoy my recommendation of this film. This has been a Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez Minisode. Tune in to the Minisodes every Monday at 12 p.m. and Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez every Friday at 4 p.m. on Anchor, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. And until then, I'll see you at the movies.